Hello everyone, this is Father the Everchosen, back in Total War Warhammer 2, bringing you our first set of quick battles post Warden and the Paunch DLC. I'm bringing the High Elves, and my opponent has brought the Vampire Coast. We'll go through my opponent's army, and then we'll shoot back over to mine. So my opponent has brought 2 deck droppers with handguns, the Black Spot Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob, the Shade Wraith Gunners. He's brought a Vampire Fleet Captain, Luthor Harkon, 2 Depth Guard, the Bloody Reaver Deck Guard, which are the Halberd Depth Guard, a unit of Rotting Prometheans, and a Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob. And he's decided to set up right here by this little wooded area, giving him some nice cover and a nice defensive position to fire from. Myself, I have brought Tyrion, and Tyrion is carrying Sunfang. I figured that I should carry that since the Vampire Coast can bring quite a bit of heavy mob span, and if he gets trapped, then I like to use Sunfang to kind of extract him. I brought 2 Lothern Sea Guards with shields so that they're protected from any gunfire. I brought the Scions of Mathland Spearmen, 2 regular spears, and 2 Silverin Guard. And the Silverin Guard I have given triple bronze chevron. On top of that, I brought a Mage of Beasts, and with that I brought Amber Spear, Flock of Doom, and Transformation of Kadan. And then I brought 2 Lion Chariots of Trace, and their main inclusion was so that I could take out Depth Guard and weave in and out of the back lines. So we'll jump in here. As soon as the battle starts, I notice that my opponent has taken this pretty nice defensive position. I know I'm going to start taking fire right away, so I decide to move up so I can get my Lothern Sea Guard into range, and I can engage both Tyrion and the Noble in combat. With the Noble as well, I ended up bringing, here we'll pause it real quick, I ended up bringing the Sacred Incense to give everybody around him the missile resistance. So it does help, especially against a faction like the Vampire Coast. It buffs Tyrion up to 27%. The Noble sitting at 27% as well. Along with the shields and the heavy armor stats, it's definitely going to help mitigate some of the damage that would have been coming in. So I end up kind of setting up a little horseshoe here. I know that they don't have anything like the scurvy dogs or anything that are going to come and hit me in the back. So I'm just trying to ring everybody in, so if I can flank, I'll get the flanking bonuses. Continue to move my White Lions and the Mage of Beast off to the flanks, and everybody just starts to advance. My opponent's getting some early damage done with the Shade Wraith Gunners, but still no kills, in part due to the Silver Shield and the missile resistance that I have right now. The Mage of Beast comes in here, dropping a Flock of Doom, doing some pretty decent damage. Hit the Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob with the White Lions, and my other one gets stopped by the Fleet Captain, and I'm going to summon up a Manticore here, and he's going to chase the deck droppers away, so they will be leaving the battle here for quite some time. At this point, I should have been moving up the rest of my line. Failing to do so, definitely I could have capitalized a little more on the inattentiveness of these 2 gun units. The Pharaoh Manticore's not going to end up accomplishing anything in the way of kills, but will chase these deck droppers around for quite some time. This white lion does get trapped, but Tyrion drops his Sunfang. Unfortunately, it's just through Depth Guard, so it just does some damage. We end up summoning these zombie pirate, or my opponent summons the zombie pirate deckhand mob back here. I move the Scions of Mathland to take care of that, so I can continue to use my Lothern Sea Guard. Tyrion's going to make short work of this vampire fleet captain, and my opponent moves Luthor Harkon back here into the wooded area, kind of removing him from the fight. I summon up yet another Manticore. This Manticore has gone feral and is still just occupying the deck droppers over here. And at this point, I've got both my Lothern Sea Guard firing in. The Depth Guard are quickly losing hit points. The Spearmen are doing good. The Silveran Guard are an excellent holding infantry. They're a bit pricey, 300 points more than the regular spears, but you know, they can hold for quite a bit of time. The other Silveran Guard are engaged against the Rotting Prometheans with the Noble, and my mage is still just back here casting up some spells. Tyrion did make short work of that Fleet Admiral. I did keep Tyrion on foot for this battle, and at this point my Manticore over here is gone, but the deck droppers, for some reason my opponent loses track of them. Try to get an Amber Spear off on Luthor Harkon, but Luthor Harkon has quite a bit of magic resistance. My White Lions and this Feral Manticore have locked down their guns, and at this point my opponent really doesn't have anything that he's going to be able to use against me. Everything is slowly starting to crumble, and if he had activated these deck droppers quicker and been getting shots in the back, seeing as you don't get your shield stat when you get shot in the back, he could have made pretty short work of them, but without activating them, his infantry, just everything got surrounded. Scions of Mathland come in, and at this point I decide no longer need to shoot at the infantry. I'll start taking out the deck droppers, because he does finally pull them back in, and they start doing a bit of work. They still have the black spots back here, but the black spot was trying to protect Luthor. And truthfully, at this point, my opponent can't really bring this back unless I was to do something extremely foolish, like shut off my archers. But seeing as that's not going to happen, everything will just crumble away, and I will walk away with a pretty decisive victory here. My opponent sees the writing on the wall and does capitulate. At that point, he really only had a handful of Depth Guard left. All of my infantry, my Noble, and Tyrion were all going for Luthor Harkon. And the deck droppers, though they had ammunition left, they weren't going to be able to take everything out. And with having a caster still around, I probably would have had enough Winds of Magic for one more transformation of Kadan. And once I had taken out Luthor and his black spot over here, he would have had to engage the deck droppers in melee, and they have abysmal melee stats. So good job on my opponent, or good job by my opponent, but I think truly the missteps were letting both deck droppers getting chased by the Manticore, and then leaving your guns over here for so long without activating them, or maybe getting them into a better flanking position. If those Shade Wraith Gunners and the Black Spot had been back here, they'd have been really effective against my Silveran Guard and my Spears. And then losing the Vampire Fleet Captain really hampers your ability, because you no longer have the magic that you need to sustain your army. And you know, Luthor is good, but parking him in the woods and just letting him take shots with his pistol would not be what I would have chose to do. I would have engaged the noble and taken the noble out, especially since the noble was on foot and he would only have his anti-large bonus. And Luthor would have been able to make pretty good work of him, and he could have kept the leadership higher of his troops because all of them, save for maybe the running Prometheans, were out of his leadership aura. But that'll do it for this battle. Let's take a quick look at the end screen. So, in the end, Depth Guard, the one did quite well, and his other two, especially the regiment around, did not perform up to snuff for the price point. And look at these Shade Wraith Gunners. I mean, they are an expensive unit, getting 0 kills. And I would say most of that would be due to the silver shields and the missile resistance granted by the noble. We'll go take a peek real quick at those in custom battle, just so you guys can see a price point for that. You take a peek. The Shade Wraith Gunners are 1,050, and the Bloody Reaver are, 1,600. So that's 2,650 for, I think it was 23 kills. Just not effective enough. Not nearly effective enough. Everything else, when going against the High Elves, most players aren't going to bring a super elite army. Obviously you could see a dragon, a Lariel, nobles, and the like, but still just bringing regular, either handguns or just the regular gunnery mob, especially against a dragon. If you have your troops spaced out evenly enough, you can just pepper a dragon. Especially something like a Sun Dragon. If you look at the Sun Dragon, it walks around with 60 armor, I believe. And even the Star Dragon only has 80 armor. Now it has 25 missile resistance, as well as the Sun Dragon. But the Sun Dragon, I've seen, getting melted by especially armor-piercing shots. So, I was the Vampire Coast player, I would have gone wider rather than going elite. I think you will be better off. And going elite with the Vampire Coast, especially with Depth Guard, they don't have the ranged option, and a dragon can just sit up in the air and breathe fire on you. So, that matchup, go wide instead of going elite. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the first of many new videos coming out, and you should be receiving a greenskin quick battle later today. So thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like, leave a comment down below with any feedback you have, and as always, I have been Father of the Ever-Chosen.